skills are a little bit lackluster, we can help.
Yeah, maybe you find yourself going back to the same easy but kind of boring recipe every week. Totally guilty of this. Our next guest was struggling kind of with that, making cooking fun again. So we set out on a journey to find more motivation when cooking. That's when he decided, you know what, I'm going to write a cookbook. It's called Hot Dish Confidential. That year, my friends taught me to cook. It's written by George Sorenson, and the book officially launches tomorrow. George is here this morning talking a little bit about this. Hello, welcome to Good Day.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Okay, let's talk a little bit about that. So it was your friends that kind of nudged you. I love the backstory behind this story.
Exactly. I was at home one day looking at the kitchen, saying to myself, how do you cook this stuff? How do you do good food? So I talked to some friends, and they claimed that they were great gourmet cooks. And so I got to talking to them about, well, can you teach me how to cook? And they said, sure. So I organized themed dinners. So one month we would have a Charles Dickens Christmas.
Oh,
and
wow.
another month we'd do the south of France, or we did Tex-Mex cooking, and we had rattlesnake enchiladas for that.
Oh, whoa. So you were adventurous in
well,
this.
some of the people were adventurous for sure. And of course we wondered, were they really rattlesnake, or were they really frog's legs or something else like that? So we did this for months. Doing the different themes, and along the way, of course, people never get along, especially in the kitchen, right? So they'd argue about wine, and they'd argue about what kind of mushrooms are you using here, or something like that. And that made it ever so more interesting. So I wrote this book, and it includes a few recipes, and it tells the story of the characters and all the adventures we had.
So now your friends get to be written up in a book.
Well, they do, but some of the names have been changed.
To protect the innocent?
You can call them innocent if you want.
So this is a year long, or maybe even, did you say even longer than a year?
Well, it's broken down by month for an entire year. So it's as if you're going through an entire year with us doing this.
So obviously you learned a lot through the cooking. Were there unexpected things that you picked up along the way that you incorporate that we could all pick up on? Well,
one is that when you get people together, I mentioned that they don't get along, but they argue about things that really don't matter. You go to a wine store with one person and they'll tell you, oh, this wine's good and that's not. The other person will tell you the exact opposite. It has to do with how they feel about it, what their tastes are themselves. So I did research on my own. And I went to wine stores and I talked to experts. And I went even for like mushrooms, I mentioned those. I went to a mushroom grower up here up in the middle of Minnesota that has a big mushroom ranch inside of a barn, and saw how they grew mushrooms just to learn about them. So it's always a learning experience when you're cooking.
Sure. Okay, well, you keep mentioning mushrooms. We should talk about what you're demoing and what you have here for us today.
Okay, what I have here is one of the recipes in the books, and there are 2 mushroom recipes. This is the easiest.
Okay.
And this one, you just take some minced onion, and you take some fresh pulled breadcrumbs, and you just take a loaf of bread and you just pull the crumbs out of them. Use it for that. Put those in a pan with some butter, and you saute them for a while. Cook it, and then you just put it into a mushroom.
Oh, you're just stuffing the mushroom.
Exactly. And so the mushroom becomes a perfect little container for it. And then, of course, you put a couple strips of bacon on top, because bacon improves everything.
It sure does. You think? It sure does.
And then you put it in the oven at 400 degrees for 20 minutes, and then it comes out perfectly. Well, almost perfectly every time. And you can see there's a little cream in the bottom of it. So when you cook it, you fill the bottom with just a little cream around it, and it makes a nice sauce for the bottom, and it keeps them moist when they're cooking.
So I got to ask you, George, the book is called Hot Dish Confidential, but it's not only hot dish. Is there a hot dish in there?
Well, there may be.
Or just because we're in Minnesota and it's...
You can't avoid a hot dish in Minnesota, you know that.
Yes.
Some places they call them casseroles, but there's...
Some people.
Right, but they don't, and it used to be, and maybe it still is, when you go to the church basement, in the middle of winter, and they're having a potluck. Everybody brings a different hot dish, or they bring a Jell-O mix, and the Jell-O can have all kinds of weird stuff in it.
This is true.
It's just almost
Kind of a fun surprise, right?
well.
What is
It's
that?
a surprise, whether it's fun or not.
That's your next book, actually.
the next
That is
book.
the next book.
Jell-O Confidential.
Yeah,
Love it.
Jell-O company.
We should mention your book launch. You have a lot of events coming up.
I do.
Okay.
I do. This afternoon, I will be at Boreal Gift Shop at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow at 7 in the evening, I'll be at the Broken Clock Brewery, and there'll be a kickoff there, and invite everybody to come to the Broken Clock for that. And then on Wednesday at 7:30, I'll be at the Comma Bookstore.
Okay.
So I hope everyone shows up for that. I'd love to see you and sign a copy of the book for you.
Great. And there's a giving back component as well.
There
correct?
is, and it's for Second Harvest,
Okay.
which is a kind of a food bank.
Yeah.
And it's very big. It provides millions of meals to people. So the press that I'm working with is Flexible Press. It's a small press in Minnesota, and they always have a charitable component to every book they publish. So the publisher works with the author to pick a charity to give part of the profits to.
Oh, love that.
Can we put that information on the screen quick that he just said so you can see it? Perfect.
George, thank you. Again, there's all the information. The launch officially tomorrow. You can meet him there. He's going to be signing books. He mentioned all those for today and for tomorrow and then Wednesday, and obviously the charitable aspect too. So, George, thank you so much. Best of luck. We really appreciate it.
Thank
we'll
you.
look forward to that Jell-O book coming up soon.
I want to do that
I'm going to
next.
hold you to that.
Kelly will do all the sampling.
Yeah, there could be worse